Welcome back to another episode of Better Than I Found It, the podcast all things college golf. You're listening to Mike McGraw, the men's golf coach at Baylor University. Today's very special guest on Better Than I Found It is longtime Auburn women's coach Kim Evans. Kim, a member of the WGCA Hall of Fame, coached the Lady Tigers from 1994 through 2015 when she retired. During her time there, the program was consistently a national contender, and her teams also captured 8 SEC conference championships. She was not only a great Hall of Fame coach, she is a cancer survivor. We talk about that and many other subjects. I know you'll enjoy this very special interview. Okay, Better Than I Found It faithful. Let's all welcome former Auburn women's golf coach Kim Evans to the podcast today. Kim, I'm really excited about this, to have you on as a guest. For one, I haven't seen you in such a long time. It'll just be great catching up. It's been way too long.
Yes, it has. Good morning.
Yeah, it's great.
I was excited when you texted me. It was so much fun to listen to Courtney, and so I appreciate you having me on.
Well, absolutely. She is the one that kind of, I had already had your name on a list of coaches, Hall of Fame coaches, retired coaches that it's interesting. I've got one guest a week, and you can't get to everybody. You just try, but you'd been one I'd been wanting to for a while. And when Jay Goebel, our women's coach here at Baylor, suggested that I interview Courtney, when I was talking to Courtney and going through that whole thing, I thought, this is my chance. I need to get Kim on here now. And you gave some great quotes about her and things that she had done while she was a player for you. And so I am really, really excited because I think you had so much to offer the coaching profession, both men's and women's side. And I enjoyed getting to know you through the years. And truly, my 1 year of coaching women's golf, there were a few women that, I mean, I wasn't all that welcome that year, but you were one of those that welcomed me with open arms. And I really appreciate that.
Well, you're easy to welcome and love, so not so hard to do. And,
Okay.
and your impact on the game has been amazing. If I look through, what you've done and where you've been, and I don't think there's a person that wouldn't love to spend time with you and be able to pick your brain, but just hang out with you because you're a really good person.
Well, I appreciate that, Kim. All right, well, let's get started. This is just going to be a nice little conversation between two coaches. In the last 5 years of this podcast, I've basically had dozens and dozens of Hall of Fame coaches, not just coaches, but tons of Hall of Fame coaches. So I've always wanted to get perspective of people that built a great career, had some great success, changed some lives, impacted some lives. And you were certainly one of those. Every one of those Hall of Fame coaches has a very unique story, and yours is as well. I mean, you were inducted into the NGCA Hall of Fame, I think, in 2008 while you were still coaching, which is a great honor. You coached another 7 or 8 years as a Hall of Fame coach. That's an interesting dynamic, don't you think?
Yeah, it was. I was surprised I got it, but very proud of that. And I don't know that it gave me more insight of those next 7 or 8 years. Coaching every year changes a little, and your dynamics change, and you have to change with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you were a young girl growing up in Decatur, Alabama. How long did you live in Decatur?
Well, I moved away to college, and I probably never went back. I went to Auburn and was able to play golf, and pretty soon after that, I got my first job at a resort called Sandestin in Destin, Florida. But I grew up in Decatur on hole number 2 at Decatur Country Club, and I had 4 older brothers, so there was not a day that we weren't playing some sort of sport. But because we lived on the golf course, and my dad was an avid golfer, he loved to play golf and he loved to fish. And he loved to hunt, and we kind of took that route in our family. So, yeah, just got beat up every day.
Well, that's incredible. I had 5 sisters, so it was a little opposite. But I will say this, growing up on the edge of a golf course, my dad was the club pro at the Ponca City Country Club. We grew up literally, depends, they redesigned the golf course, so it was a different hole number later in years. But near the fifth or sixth tee box, depending upon the year that they had it. I grew up on the golf course. I walked across the golf course to go play.
Oh
Did you?
yeah.
You did the same. You didn't need a ride to the course. You walked there, right?
No, and I could quit on hole 2 or 17 or 5 and was pretty much near our house. So I had all kinds of routes on the golf course, and yeah, I had a blessed childhood.
Is there anything better than the childhood? And you wouldn't trade it. I know I wouldn't. Growing up on a golf course because it was like paradise was just outside your back window, and you got to go enjoy a game you loved.
It was true. And it was one of those old fashioned clubs, nothing fancy. So it was just home, it was just home.
Yeah. How did you get to Auburn? And I'm going to ask you about your college coaches. I don't know your college coach's name. It probably either I couldn't find it or it just didn't happen. But how did you
His
get to
name was
Auburn?
Ron Murphy, and he was a
Okay.
great coach. And he played golf at Florida, and he could play, and he was one of our in our school of education, physical education, and back in that during that time they would grab someone that was an instructor or professor and have them coach whatever they were in. So that's what he did. But we had a pretty decent team, and he had knowledge. He was fun. He took 6 or 8 girls and got them in a van, and we laughed the whole way. And he was able to keep peace, and I learned a lot from him, and he made it easy. That was just right on the cusp of us. Women's golf starting to really, start make some headway. And you mentioned Therese Session and a Rosie Jones, people like that playing during that time. I think it was a really good time that kind of helped push women's golf period forward in the
Well,
world.
my twin sister Patty played golf at Oklahoma State 78 to 82. So she literally paralleled your career at Auburn. And, I think they kind of felt like, talking to my sister, sort of pioneers because you were the first wave of women's college golfers. Um, it, I know that Oklahoma State had a team in 1976, but they only had one player, Patty Livingston, and she actually got to go to the national championship in Hawaii, of all places. Um, you never played the national championship in Hawaii, I know that. But in
No,
in those days, it was not the NCAA when you first started; it was the AIAW.
it's exactly what it was.
Yeah, and my twin sister's team, Oklahoma State, and Pitt's the coach, which you knew very well. They hosted at Stillwater Country Club that year in 1979, and I have vivid memories of it. You told me before the recording that the Tigers didn't make it, but two of your teammates made
Two
it.
of our teammates did, yes.
Yeah,
We were
um,
right on that cut line. And that's when
yeah,
they just selected. So
exactly, exactly.
yeah, but we've come a long way, and but yeah, I treasure my time at Auburn. Obviously I had two brothers who went to school at Auburn. One brother that went to Vanderbilt and one that went to Alabama, and my dad went to Arkansas. So we were an SEC family, and we all still fight about every game that there is on TV or whatever, all the rivalries now.
Wow, that SEC conference, my goodness, uh,
Yeah.
powerful in just about every sport. In basketball, I mean, Alabama's great this year. I mean, there's that it's a power conference, that is for sure. But in those days, you didn't think of it like that. It was just
No.
yeah. What's your most memorable experience in college as a player?
It's kind of funny. I wouldn't call myself the best player on the team. I probably worked the least, probably the biggest goof off on the team. But you know, I really, it was kind of weird when I drove off campus with my car loaded up to start my internship. Um, I thought I want to coach golf, and I think what I gathered from it were the leaders in our athletics department that had anything to do with this, coach. Uh, as you get to know other coaches as you play, you always had other, golf lends itself to us making lifetime connections and friendships, and, to get to know a Betty Lou Evans, or, just some of those great Liz Murphy, some of those great names. And I just had so much admiration for our leaders at that time. And I think that really implanted me to want to coach and to lead. And even though I probably didn't show it while I was at Auburn, I think driving away, I knew that was something I wanted to do. So that was probably what gave me think
You know,
from that experience.
I've talked to a bunch of coaches through the years that they're very similar stories, meaning, gosh, my experience was great. I may not have been the greatest example of what I would want my players to be, but I learned from it. And when you became a coach, you could kind of relate to that kid that maybe was a little like you, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, but you didn't get into coaching immediately. You got your PGA membership,
I
which,
did. I went to a resort, Sandestin, which is right on the panhandle of Florida. It's beautiful, and got a job there as, really a shop assistant. But there was a gentleman there by the name of Paul Bergen, and Paul was, um, he's the one that said, I think you should consider, PGA membership, and we're going to help you get to it. And I think you'll be one of the few women that have done it, and I did it. And of course, during that time, a gentleman, a guy by the name of Puggy Blackman had worked for Paul Bergen too. So Puggy would visit the Sandestin with the Atlanta Junior Golf Association group. Puggy had been involved in the Atlanta Junior, the American Junior, the Junior World Cup, and through getting to know Puggy through a couple of you know, summers, playing golf with him a few times, having dinner, whatever. He told me he felt like I could be a good coach, and he got me to Georgia Tech as the assistant men's
well,
coach. And that's kind of how we all started. How I started, how I got to know Puggy and go from being we did everything at Sandestin. I didn't just teach, we merchandised. I learned so much about the business from Paul. Truly, I credit him and his wife, Sherry. I was just a young kid that didn't know anything. And, I just learned so much from him and how to, not just about the business, but how you treat people. And so they just had such a huge impact on me. And Puggy, he was so much fun. His visits were so fun, but he pulled the coach out in me. And
well,
so that's how it kind of all started. But Sandestin, I learned everything. I mean, we were picking range balls and driving beer carts and flipping hot dogs and giving golf lessons and merchandiser of the year a handful of times there and in that section. And so I just learned so much.
you mentioned that's old time golf business. It's not really the same anymore. But I also
That's right.
remember some 60-hour weeks, 65-hour weeks.
Oh yeah,
Wasn't a 40-hour week in those days.
it was.
It
It was
was, but
good time, and I've been real fortunate. The PGA, it just really helped me, just in every way professional.
my dad was a club professional for 40 years, and when I think about the PGA, I always thought about the headquarters being down in, South Florida, and now it's moved to Frisco, Texas, which is uh, it's great. The facility is amazing up there, but it just seems like so much has changed through the years. One being just like what it was like working in a golf shop in those days. But I didn't know how you got connected with Puggy, so that's good history to know. But so you were sort of a pioneer as a college golfer. You were in the first wave of women's college golf programs or teams. So that was kind of in the early stages. You were not an anomaly, but you were one of the few women getting a PGA certification in those days. That was pretty rare. And now you're going to go to work for Puggy at Georgia Tech as a female on the men's side. That was really rare. Uh, let's talk about that experience because I know it must have been an amazing experience to prepare you to be a head coach at Auburn.
It was, and I don't think I realized what I was doing at the time. I just knew I wanted to coach, and I still go back to getting in that. I had some sort of little bronze car, getting in that car and thinking in my mind as I drove off that I want to coach one day. So I knew I wanted to coach. So yeah, I go to Atlanta, Georgia. Here's Atlanta. And I'd grown up in Decatur, Alabama, and Destin's small. And, I get to the big city. So there I was at Georgia Tech and really fell in love with the I don't know if you caught the higher education side, really learning about academics, really learning about scheduling, really learning about kids, young people, and how to help maneuver them through not just their life and their academic life, but their golf life.
So, was your plan? And yes, that's the way I got into coaching a little differently, but I had the same thought in mind. I want to be a coach one day. But Was your plan to just work for Puggy for a year or so and then get a job? You stayed 6 years, or at least 6 years anyway. That's a good
Well,
long stretch.
like I said, I really didn't know what I was doing, but I loved Atlanta. I loved being in the city. I loved Georgia Tech and working. I also helped Puggy and was the associate director of the Atlanta Junior Golf Association, and that's just like the American Junior, except for it's in the Atlanta Metro, and I love that. We ran kids tournament clinics in the summer, tournaments. We had 30 tournaments a year in the summer, so I was busy. So I was never bored, and I just really enjoyed what I was doing. And the right job came along. Auburn came along, and of course that tugged on my heartstring.
I bet it did. Describe being a female coaching elite. I know there were some elite players there at Georgia Tech playing for Puggy while you were there. Describe that dynamic. I think,
It,
and I'm going to ask you another question about that in a minute, but go ahead and describe that.
I just have been so lucky.
Hmm.
And I didn't mention Martha Jones Lang, and if anybody knows anything about her history, USGA committee, a member of the Royal and Ancient, club, but she grew up in Decatur, Alabama, and she's the one that really, I caddied. If I didn't play with her every chance I could, I caddied for her. So, just having that mentor and leadership, and then Paul, and now Puggy. And listen, Puggy was innovative. I've never the ideas he had back then, we're actually doing now in college golf, a match play championship. All these ideas that he would have both for the junior program and his team. So I kind of just got thrown to the wolves and just followed him. We lived in Atlanta. We didn't have really a home base. We didn't have like now the golf houses that we have, but we had some of the best golf courses in the country right there. So that's how we built our schedule. We chased good greens and good golf courses and prepared wherever we were going. We kind of select a golf course that kind of modeled that. And I think Georgia Tech was up and coming in a way of technology. The year I left, they were putting together the Olympic presentation to host the Olympics there, and Georgia Tech was a big part of that. And I just was I was way out of my field, but it was just so up and coming, and things moved very quickly. So I think it was 6 years, but it went fast. And I think I
So,
did know I wanted to be, and I was torn. I was active with the PGA. I was active with Georgia Tech, and Puggy and busy, and I didn't know my route would go. Would I go and be a tournament director, or I was in the business too, Atlanta in the business, but coaching won out. That's at the end, that's what I wanted to be.
sounds like to me, as you were driving away from the campus at Auburn, it would win out because you'd already had that dream in your head. You knew you were going to be
Yeah,
a coach. Yeah.
probably. Yeah.
So, if I'm a young female coach and I've been an assistant and for a few years, and I'm in my mid to late 20s, and I had an opportunity to jump on to the men's side, what advice would you give that young lady that, yes, jump on that, take that opportunity, or no, you better stay on the women's side? I mean, do you think more women ought to be on the men's side?
Well, if they want to be, women in golf, it's moved slow, but the door's open now. And I think that our young people now are a little more tenacious. And I think I think we're going to see more. We're seeing more women. I watch pro football, and they're on the sideline commentating. You're seeing some coaches in football. I think we're going to start seeing more of it. I think we've had some success with ones that have. But, I think that everyone is different. And I think that when you coach, you have to realize that first. And I think you just got to kind of coach. You've got to help that person just realize their dream, their vision. If it's not your dream or not your vision, I would maybe vote against it. But if it's your dream and your vision to work with young men or to be a head coach, and this is a route that you're going to gain so much experience and you're going to have fun doing it, then it's your route. But for me, I would do it. I think we can get real comfortable right now in college athletics. You get a good assistant job, you make good money, you've created this wonderful culture with this wonderful team and families and university, and it's a wonderful it's a wonderful time in your life, and it's hard to step away from that as an assistant. But so and if you want to be a head coach, you're going to have to move. That's just it. You might have to move across the country. But if it's your vision to be a head coach, and if it's what you think you want, if you know you want it, then go do it. You are in charge of your own destiny. You get to write your script every day of what you're going to be and what you're going to try to do. So I would say, make your goals and go for it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just think that there's so many. I've met a lot of female coaches on the women's side that I thought, you know what, if she really wanted to, she could probably coach on the men's side. And if she wanted to, if that was something she wanted to do. And I know
Yeah.
that men have been successful,
Yeah,
on the
absolutely.
absolutely. So, and I think part of that, this is my opinion, you tell me, a lot of young girls growing up playing softball or basketball or whatever, they play for male coaches a lot of times in junior athletics. So maybe they kind of respond to the males when they get to college and they're okay with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of different, there's a lot of teaching professionals, more teaching male, so that you're right, they're used to working with a male, but you know, uh, it's funny. In again, that it sounds boring, but everyone's different. A lot of people just look at the region they want to go to school. A lot of people select the school because they got a full scholarship. A lot of people select the school because that's their alma mater, and some people select the school because of the coach. And
Hmm.
it's up to us to try to win them over. And then the hard part is staying consistent to that their entire year, actually their entire life. Because if you recruit them, you own them, and
You
hopefully they will own you. You know.
absolutely. So you get to Auburn in 1994. You stayed, I think, 21 or 22 years. How many actual seasons did you coach?
That 21 seasons.
Yeah, 21 seasons.
21 seasons, and then I retired from coaching and I moved over with student affairs, the Office of Student Affairs, and was able to start a golf program for our student veterans and helped in various ways on campus in athletics. That 3-year period was a lot of fun for me, and I enjoyed it. And all Auburn.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's not gloss over that incredible career you had. I'm gonna give some I'm gonna give some statistics. Twice, your team was second at once nationals. You were second in 2002, third in 2005, but you won SEC titles in 96, 2000, 2003, 5, 6, 9, 11, and 12. Um, 36 tournament titles, 96 top three finishes as a team. Five-time SEC Coach of the Year, National Coach of the Year in 2002, Hall of Fame, NGCAA Hall of Fame in 2008, numerous All-Americans, academic All-Americans. I mean, honestly, you're probably one of the most successful coaches in the history of Auburn University, period. Male, female, doesn't matter, regardless of sport. How were you able to take a program that had been somewhat good, but not that successful and bring it to national attention?
Oh, well, a lot from what I learned at Georgia Tech. Look what Puggy did at Tech in that time, and you're only as good as the players you recruit. You know, you just are. And so recruiting, I found recruiting during that time, living in the Southeast, we had several golf courses, really good little golf courses in Auburn, still great facilities. And so I felt like it was easy to recruit too. And I got players that were tough. I don't, it's really how the kids get in and trying to plan out their week that you get the best out of them. And they're the ones that did it. I didn't. You just try to stay consistent, and if you can stay consistent and develop a pattern, then usually that comes with a little bit of explosiveness and success. So that was what I did. If I could just stay consistent with it, that these kids would grow.
Yeah, your team had 7 top 10 finishes at nationals all through the years. I mentioned the second place and the third place finish. What's the most memorable time you had at a national championship? I've got some memories of being at national championships over the last 28 years. What would jump out at you like, gosh, I'll never forget that moment?
Um, you know, that the year we finished second, I think we tied with Texas that year, and Duke won. And after we after 2 days, we were like 17 shots behind first place. And we were just falling all over ourselves. And to watch the girls dig themselves out of that. And with 6 holes left, we tied. We were tied for the national title. And that was exciting. Those last 4 to 6 holes were going to decide who was going to win the national championship. And it was close. And I remember just watching Duke just make a ton of pars coming in. And that's usually what happens, when you win a championship. A lot of times it's not how well you play, it's how consistent you play. And a lot of times, people will hand it to you. And we had bogeys coming in and pars and not pars and birdies. But that was a real exciting time to realize. And the year we finished third, the year we finished fourth, to realize that we could win the national title. We never did. And it's a sore spot for sure. I do think Auburn will get one. I think Melissa will get one. I wouldn't be surprised if she got it this year. But I look at that time. It was a really solid team. It kind of it pushed us through. I think we finished first or second in every event that year, and it was just that golden year. And it all came down to the last 3 or 4 holes to take it, and we just missed it.
It's
But
all right.
that was a great time and a great team.
Absolutely. Yeah, a great team. I coached 2 years later as an assistant on the women's side. I was at Auburn. You guys hosted the national championship, and then the following season, I actually coached the women's team at Oklahoma State. I think it was the greatest learning experience of my coaching career. I learned a lot more about myself as a coach. Was there any one thing you learned coaching men that helped you be a better women's coach? Can you point to anything at all?
I a lot of people ask me this question. A lot of people, what's the difference in coaching men? And it's still golf. We're still trying to learn to play
Mm.
golf. We're still trying to figure out the golf course. I think I watch men play at such an athletic level, and really it really paid attention to the golf course. And that taught me a lot about how to get prepared for playing a specific golf course. And I think that they prepared me for that. And I just think preparedness. I think as a coach, you want to know as much as you can about the venue, all the things we're going to do, where you're eating, what time you're eating, all those things you try to do and make it where our student athletes can have a better time, be consistent. So I think preparedness, and then realizing that there are certain ways to play a golf course, and some have a lot of talent to really go after it, and some got to lay back and play through their strengths. And that's what I learned. I think that's probably good. I learned a lot from those guys. And, all my experiences are still based on people, Puggy and all those young men that came through the program, which is, Charlie Romer and Stuart Sink and David Duvall and Trip Eisenhower and Bill McDonald and Tom Shaw. I mean, names go on, and just the same that the young ladies that played for me, Courtney and Danielle Downey and Celeste Troche and all the way at Margaret Shirley, who was one of my coaches. I can name them on and on and on, and all the great memories are all based around them and the hard work that they did, and the glory that they got to have from winning some golf tournaments.
We get so wrapped up in the result that we forget to champion what you just talked about, which is it's going to eventually be about the relationships, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not. And even if
That's
you get
right.
fired, it's still those relationships don't go away. They just don't.
They
So,
don't.
yeah, that's pretty incredible. Well, so an incredible career, obviously a Hall of Fame career, something you look back on with great fond memories. You said it earlier, the players did it, I didn't. I think every coach needs to recognize that. But there's something else that about you that I was always so impressed with, and that was the way you handled a very difficult physical time of your life, and that's when you had cancer. You were a cancer survivor. You are a cancer survivor. and that was late in your career. Uh, Talk about that time. How did you get through it, and how's it made you stronger?
Oh, wow. It changed my whole life. I was sick for about a year and I had no idea what was wrong. And I finally, got to the bottom of it and realized my oncologist, he said, you're in for a bigger fight than you think. You need to make arrangements at work. You're not going to be at work for a while. And so, so I lost a year somewhat that year. I just wasn't myself. And then we get into the fight and the surgeries and the chemotherapy and um, just all that fight and getting through it. And here I am cancer free, but I still have a golf program. I've hired a great assistant, Andrew Pratt, who came in from head coach from Tulane and had been at Tennessee. Of course he had it, but that year that I tried to coach after the year of treatments, it was almost where I couldn't gain the strength to keep. I wasn't being any of help to this team, and I just made the decision to retire from coaching. And I just felt like for me and my health, it was going to be best, and I felt like for the health of the program. I didn't know how long this fight was going to be, and somehow I got lucky, and my fight just was during that specific time. You know, there's a lot of coaches that are fighting cancer now and did fight it and are fighting it. And for me, I felt like it was best to step away. So that's why I decided to retire a little early. But it was the best thing I could do. I think I took stress out of my life. I think I walked a different path, and I was really settled with leaving coaching. Not settled with ever leaving Auburn, but that was kind of my story, and I just got lucky. And what got me through it, and again, I know it sounds crazy. And my doc, when we're in the first meeting that I'm going to have all this done to me, my doctor is this young phenom doctor, and he looked at me and he said, Coach Evans, at the end of the day, it's going to be love and support that gets you through. Well, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I need a machine gun and a bear to go in here. I'm fighting this thing, and I mean, about halfway through these crazy treatments, and I thought in my mind, it is nothing but love and support, and all the golf community and my family and friends that reached out and rallied for me is what kept you smiling and trying to get better. So that's, again, it's the people that pull you through.
I agree. I know you had a bunch of former players reach out, coaching colleagues. I remember a lot of text messages you and I shared during that time. So anyway, I've never had cancer. I certainly don't want to ever go through it, but every cancer survivor I've talked to somehow or another has a better perspective on life, and they've got a resiliency, or there's something about them that's just like, yeah, that was a terrible experience to go through, but they're probably maybe even a better person because of it.
I agree. It's a hard, sorority or fraternity to be a member of, but it definitely, it definitely throws you a different curveball, and it never quits. The rear view mirror is always there. You have to continue to take precautions. You still can have side effects, but to be able to declare I'm 11 years cancer free, so I don't take any minute for
That is
granted.
awesome. That is really good. One of the things that was underrated about your career was all the charity endeavors you were, and I knew about some of them, but I was looking in this, I don't know, an article written about you in your retirement. You had, I mean, a bunch of different things. Will Golf for Food Golf Fundraiser, End Child Hunger in Alabama, Habitat for Humanity, Meals on Wheels, Lee Russell Aging Foundation, Chicken Salad Chick Foundation, Norma Livingston Ovarian Cancer Foundation, Boys and Girls Club of Lee County, and it goes on and on. What was in your heart that made you reach out and want to help other people in some of those cases when you were struggling? But you seem like a very philanthropic person with a great heart to help others.
I I think my mother really had an amazing heart, and she was she just had an amazing heart and love for people, and I think that it's just my way to give back. I don't know. I enjoy it. I enjoy being part of boards. I enjoy being part of, a charitable group. And it's, you get to know people, and they ask you to help, and you do, or you come up with an idea. So it's just a way to give back to your community. And golf just puts us in the community so much. You get to know everybody in the community because most people play golf. And so through that, it was just my way to, chip into our community. And then the cancer community, of course, I wanted to help any way I could. I had a little visibility in our state, so I wanted to use it so people would understand the different signs and symptoms of cancer, and at least the kind of cancer I had, which was ovarian cancer.
Yeah. Well,
I
kudos
don't
to
know
you.
where I got it, but I credit my parents, and my, big brothers and the people that raised me. And I think Auburn has a big heart. There's a big university, and I just think that there's a lot of ways to give just through our university. Give your time.
It's wonderful. Um, can I go back real quick to your PGA roots? I guess you're a lifetime member of the PGA. Do you have that status?
Yes.
Okay. My dad did as well. So I've always kind of had something good in my heart about people that have been in the PGA for a long time. But the WGCA created an award called the Kim Evans Award, and I'm going to read about the award. Presented annually to the college or high school coach and Class A PGA professional whose support of the game through teaching, coaching, and involvement in the community has helped ensure the continued growth of golf, and who represents the finest qualities of that the sport has to offer. That award, given in your name every year, has gone to several, I think about 8 people now, different people since 2018, 7 people. Congratulations on the award won, but what does that award mean to you?
Oh, it means everything. To be recognized, by the PGA. For me, which, I've been a member since 1986, and I'm very proud of that. It's done so many things for me and opened so many doors. But and to have that part of our coaches association, and I'm humbled and I'm overjoyed about it. And I don't even know how to talk about it. What I do love about it is it recognizes different coaches from different, Division 1, 2, or 3, or junior college or high school. So there's a lot of coaches out there that are really in the community and really working hard for not just their team or their school, but they're working hard for their community, and they're working hard for the PGA, and are proud of that. So I've been real proud of that. And I don't even know how to answer that.
Yeah,
But
no, I
thank you.
understand. Labor and Harris on the men's side, the Labor and Harris Award has been around a little bit longer, but it's the equivalent to uh,
Exactly.
the
And
Kim
and
Evans.
what a great name.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. But I've
There's no
always
one better.
respected somebody who is a member of the PGA of America, which is an organization, literally its foundation was to promote golf, period, in this country since 1916. But they're also a college golf coach. So it's like pairing the two of those together seems to be great for the game. Okay, ask a question here. If you were going to be the commissioner of women's college golf, I mean, you're in charge today. On day one, what's the most significant need or change you would make on day one?
Oh, I think that we're making those changes and meeting those needs. It's just been slow. I think that for a long time, just in women's golf in general, that a lot of doors were closed, and now the doors are all been open. And I think that, you look at, again, you look at the pioneers of golf, but you look at right now, we got a lot of young, talented women that not are just playing the game, but are getting out of college and ready to work in the game. And, I credit a lot, Susie Whaley, when she was president of the PGA. I think that was a big door opening for us. And I think that we've been working behind the scenes for so long, and now we have the opportunity to be in front of the scenes. We're getting more exposure on TV. That's real important to work towards those contracts. We're just getting more exposure with businesses. Now women are a number one business for, uh, sales and equipment. Ann Moon, one of my past players, has opened an equipment store here in Auburn, and I've learned more in the last few years, learning about really how to properly fit clubs. But you know, we're thriving in the business. But these young players that are coming out, one, not just playing the tour, but they've got savvy about the game of golf, and they've got some. They're going to get a job in golf, and we're pushing it. Courtney's for hire, the PGA, their career services. It's starting to be pushed, so you're going to see more women in golf. And I think when you realize just how many female women golfers there are playing collegiate golf, that is a force. And that's a big number. And big numbers mean a lot to a lot of people. So I think we've been tapping at the door. Some good things are happening, but I think the savvy in the game right now with young women coming through, I think they're going to now blow the doors open, and I think you're going to see a lot of growth in just women's golf. And people want to see these kids hit the golf ball, men and women. And the more exposure we
Absolutely.
can get them and education we can throw out there. But I think our path has been slow, but I think it's just the way it's been. And I'm looking forward to seeing the future.
You've been a big part of that path as far as women's college golf and promotion of the game of golf. So that's awesome. But so I'm going to read something that the athletic director at Auburn at the time, Jay Jacobs, said about you. I think you probably remember this having been written. He said it about you. He said, "History will remember Kim Evans as one of the greatest coaches Auburn has had, but it will remember her most for all the lives she has touched. Kim certainly won her fair share of championships as a coach, but more importantly, she shaped the lives of her players in a profound way. She's made her golfers better players and better people. She's made the department a better place to work. She's made our community a better place to live. I'm so pleased she will serve in a new role." And he was talking about that role you served in as student affairs, but that had to be pretty humbling to have read that and also validating on why you got into coaching to begin with.
Oh yeah, and again, I've been so lucky to have great leaders around me just as I've grown up and grown through. And Jay was one of those athletic directors that led very well, and he got stuck with me, to lead me through cancer. But yeah, I'm humbled by those words. That means a lot, and I'm grateful that I was able to work for Jay during that time. David
Well,
Housel actually hired me, and then I worked for for
for Jay.
Jay. So those were my two athletic directors at Auburn.
So without stroking your ego or without patronizing you, I've never heard anybody say anything bad about you. So in the coaching profession, people I've talked to, players that have played for you, players that have competed against your teams. So I want you to know that's a heck of a legacy to have is like people when they speak about Kim Evans, they're saying wonderful, glowing things about what a great competitor she was, what a great coach she was. That may be humbling to hear, but it's true. And so I just wanted you to know that you, even though we only saw each other, once or twice a year, or over the years, would see each other occasionally at tournaments. Um, I was always impressed by you and always inspired by the way you led your program. So just know that it was very noticeable.
Well, I appreciate that. And, I'm sure there's plenty of players that could tell you more stories about the things they didn't like. I always say in coaching, they either love you or hate you, and that can all happen in the same hour. So, yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of people that didn't like the way I did it or whatever, but we own it. And, I am just amazed at our coaches, and you're one of them that have been through some of the best, probably created a model at Oklahoma State that just, really knocked the world down. And Mike Holder and you and your path and how many lives you touch and what you're doing now. I mean, we've just got so many great people in golf. I'm impressed. I'm in awe of Melissa and Nick and what they're doing and our staff, the staff they've assembled and how they're conducting their business. And I just know all of our schools and SEC, all of these great coaches are working, they're just doing it. They're getting it done in all levels at a really, a trying time through our athletic system right now, with all the changes. And So my hat's off to all y'all that are still in the game.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I love being in the game. I still love competing. But part of the beauty of this podcast for me over the last 5 years has been just stories I learned, inspiring things I hear from other coaches and former players that it's like, we're really in a great spot here. I know there's some challenges and I know it's not perfect, but we're really in a great place and we have a great platform, all of us. I think you're probably still coaching players because I know you keep in touch with former players. So that coaching really never ends. Would you agree with that?
It does. I'm just looking for a coach that can help me with my golf game. I've taken up golf a little more and just realized how bad I am. So, but I did go see one of my past players, Chan Reeves. So I think bless his heart, I think he probably threw his hands up and was glad when I left. But I do play the golf and I do give some lessons for a little bit of fun back home. So I'm really enjoying the game now in a different way.
That's great. Last question. And first of all, before we ask this question, thank you so much for joining me again. What do you miss most about coaching? If there was one thing you go, oh, boy, I would really wish that was part of what I'm doing now.
Just love the preparation for a golf tournament. That was my favorite thing. That what are we doing the week or two or days before the next event? Sometimes you get in on a Sunday night and you're leaving again on a Wednesday. But I love that prep time to learn about that golf course and the players that we're going to take. How are we getting that group there? And what do we got to do to try to be in the last group of the last day and have a chance to win? That's what I absolutely miss the most. I've been blessed to have a great group of 28 years of coaching and relationships. So I do miss that competitive part, but that prep for that tournament has always been my favorite thing about coaching.
Yeah, I think it's so exciting. Once you get to the tournament, you know the hay is in the barn, so you have to say to yourself, I'm so glad. I think we've prepared. I think we're ready. And then you find out if you were.
That's right. That's right. You find out real quick.
You do. Well, Kim, thank you so much. I've enjoyed this 45 to 50 minutes with you. You're a terrific coach. You'll always be a coach. And I will say this, college golf misses you.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you. And I was just really lucky to come through when I did. And I'm still enjoying it and keeping up with it. And I look forward to watching everybody out there. And I really do appreciate you having me on and being able to have some fun memories. And I didn't tell any bad stories on anyone, so that's good.
You kept it PG. I appreciate that. All right. Well, Kim, thank you again.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day.